Ready, set, go. Welcome to the 2021 Kids Chance National Conference. As I'm sure most of you know, I'm Vicki Burkhart, the Executive Director, and I'm pleased to serve as your conference MC. I actually drew the short straw, but I'm really excited to be here and do this. We're thrilled to have you, and we promise to deliver some timely and relevant information over the next 5 days. Featured keynotes, panelists, speakers promise to provide you with an array of experiences, guidance, and recommendations for advancing your role within Kids Chance of America. We hope this virtual experience will leave you inspired, enlightened, and energized, and possibly even a little bit entertained. Housekeeping items, I'd like to introduce to you Linda Howard, who is our conference technology coordinator. Linda will be providing direction throughout the conference and will be available for live support if needed. You'll find Linda's information and bookkeeping tips in the chat box if you need them. As you know, Kids Chance has a simple mission. We provide scholarships to children of workers who have been seriously or fatally injured on the job. The powerful community we have developed helps support that mission. The purpose of the national conference is to bring that community together, to empower our volunteers, to recognize the support of our leaders and partners, and to celebrate what matters most, our kids. With that, I'd like to share a bit of the backstory around our conference logo. Our current strategic plan speaks to the value of community engagement on all levels. The conference logo was designed to reflect our vision of bringing that community together. The icon uses 50 dots for 50 state organizations, different size dots for different size states, different colors for different personalities. Those dots form a community of their own and connect to form a national arch, which encompasses our national partners and our volunteers as well. Together, we all make Kids Chance. In the spirit of celebrating our community and our kids, we want to kick off with opening day with a student spotlight. This is the first of 6 student stories we plan to share over the course of our 5-day conference. The students you will hear from represent a cross-section of scholarship recipients from a variety of our state organizations. They remind us of why we are gathered here today, to support the kids. Special thanks to Bob Wilson for using his extraordinary talents to produce these spotlights. Bob's been a longtime supporter of Kids Chance at both the national and state level. He graciously interviewed all of these students, produced the videos, and will introduce the students in the clips you are about to see. Take it away, Bob.
Hi, it's time for another student spotlight, and right now we are speaking with Emily Myers, who comes to us through the Kids Chance of Maryland organization. She is actually the first ever recipient of the HUDAC Scholarship Award, and we're pretty excited to be able to talk to her about that. It's a big award. It's a $10,000 per year commitment for 4 years. Emily, thank you very much for talking to us today. I'd like to start by asking a little, if you could tell us a little bit about what brought you to Kids Chance in the first place, if I could ask you that.
Well, so I didn't actually know about Kids Chance until my mom first brought it up after my dad had passed away. It was very unexpected. So my original plans for college were my dad was going to pay for it because he just absolutely wanted me to go to college regardless of where I went. So after he passed away, it was a work accident and it was just very unexpected. So my mom found out about Kids Chance just through research about different scholarships and things and opportunities because we weren't sure we were going to be able to pay for college. I am actually going to college at Stevenson University in Owings Mills, and I'm studying to get my major in chemistry and my master's degree in forensics. Well, before the scholarship, we were facing Corona, and my family was already in debt with bills and stuff that we just couldn't pay because we just didn't have the kind of money. So before the scholarship, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to go to college and live on campus and eat at college, things like that. I thought I'd have to commute, which for me would have been about an hour commute to and from. Well, after I graduate from Stevenson University, I want to go to medical school to get my medical degree, because my ultimate career that I want to be is a forensic medical examiner. That's what I want to do. And then like later on down the road, I'm looking into forensic photography because I also enjoy photography, but my main career goal is to be a medical examiner. So I go to medical school to get my medical degree. And then with a chemistry major and a forensics master's, it would all come together to make it happen.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Emily. Your story, quite inspiring. We wish you the best of luck as you pursue your academic career. Just so everyone knows, Emily is the first recipient of the James Hudak and Sally Sylvia Scholarship. Thanks to both of them for creating this 4-year scholarship opportunity for our deserving Kids Chance kids. We appreciate that generous support. On behalf of Kids Chance, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our conference sponsors for their support and participation in making the 2021 virtual conference a success. I extend a virtual nod to the generosity and flexibility they have all shown in helping us not only make this conference a great success, but in helping us continue our educational outreach throughout the year. We couldn't do it without you at all. As we move toward our welcome address, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's keynote sponsor, MyMatrix. MyMatrix is a pharmacy benefit management company dedicated to workers' compensation. The unique combination of MyMatrix and Express Scripts makes them the only workers' compensation pharmacy benefit manager that can deliver high-touch customer service, clinical expertise, and actionable data analytics while leveraging Express Scripts Pharmacy Network, comprehensive clinical services, mail order program, and specialty solutions to meet the individual needs of their clients and their injured workers. For more information, visit mymatrix.com. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Robert Ballard. Mr. Ballard joined Scholarship America as president and CEO in September 2015. He brings to his role more than 35 years of higher education, finance experience, most recently having served as Senior Vice President of Philanthropy at USA Funds, now Strata Education Network, where he directed all philanthropic programs and grant-making activities totaling more than $21.4 million in 2014, all to promote access and success in higher education. Bob currently serves on the boards of the National Scholarship Providers Association, College Promise Campaign, and Bottom Line, a Boston, Massachusetts nonprofit that helps disadvantaged youth get into college, graduate, and achieve lifetime success. A retired U.S. Navy commander and financial services professional, Bob is also the immediate past chair of Indiana Dollars for Scholars. I had the pleasure of meeting Bob virtually and was quite taken by the similarities between Scholarship America and Kids Chance of America. Today, Bob will discuss the values, challenges, and rewards of bringing a mission-driven, grassroots organization to a national scale in pursuit of creating lasting student impact. Sound familiar? I thought so. Bob has pre-recorded his remarks, but will join us in person after the address. Let's hear from Bob.
Thank you, Vicki. Good afternoon. My name is Bob Ballard, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as President and CEO of Scholarship America. It is my great pleasure to be with you here today, spend some time together, and share with you some of the things we've learned at Scholarship America since our founding over 60 years ago. At Scholarship America, our mission since the beginning has been to ensure that every student who dreams of higher education has the opportunity to realize that dream. Of course, that has meant over the years providing students with scholarships and other forms of financial assistance. But today is equally important to ensure students have a critical social and cultural supports they need to stay in college, stay focused on their dreams, and succeed. For students from families who have experienced the trauma of a debilitating injury or fatal accident, it is all too easy for their educational dreams and opportunities to become derailed. But thanks to Kids Chance of America and the work you do, and the dedicated support you provide, that doesn't have to happen. You are, on a daily basis, delivering a worthy and noble mission very much aligned with the mission of Scholarship America. And the similarity between our two organizations does not end there. We have been walking and continue to walk a very similar path, and I'm excited to offer some of the lessons we've learned along the way and hopefully help you make an even bigger impact as you continue your journey. Last month, Scholarship America celebrated the 100th anniversary of our founder's birth. Our founder, Dr. Irving Fradkin, was born in suburban Boston in 1921, and he was a shining example of the American dream in action. His parents were Russian Jewish immigrants, and his mother took care of Irving and his 4 siblings while his father ran a bakery. Irving was planning to go into the family business until he suffered a serious injury playing football and needed to consider a new career option. Wearing glasses from an early age, he'd always been thankful for those glasses as they helped him study and read. So he settled on optometry as his chosen profession. Each year, his father contributed the equivalent of 2 months' salary to pay for Irving's college education. And with that assistance, he was able to earn his doctorate, borrow the money for a down payment, and open an optometry practice in his own Fall River, Massachusetts. Having built a comfortable life for himself, Dr. Fradkin began looking for ways to use his time and talent to better his community. Like your founder, Bob Clyott, his work brought him into contact with young people facing difficult situations. In Dr. Fradkin's case, it was a constant refrain. Students who wanted to pursue a higher education and were capable of doing so, but whose families couldn't provide the same support that his family had given him. And just like Bob Clyott would do in 1988, in 1957, Dr. Fradkin began to dedicate himself to those students. First, he ran for a seat on the Fall River Board of Education on the platform of creating a community scholarship program, a radical idea at the time of a community providing scholarship support to its students. He lost that election in 1957, but that did not stop him. Based on the premise that if everyone in Fall River gave just $1 to a scholarship fund, Fall River could send the high school graduating class to college that fall. Accompanied by a group of local volunteers he had organized, Dr. Fradkin spent much of 1958 going door to door in Fall River, raising dollars for scholars, $1 at a time. That first year, what came to be known as Fall River Dollars for Scholars raised $4,500. It was enough to provide 24 scholarships to students, and Dr. Fradkin and his award committee made the point of spreading those scholarships to students from all walks of life. As he put it in his autobiography, I believed all young people wanting to better themselves should be included. Those who wish to go to scientific and professional schools, those who work with their hands or serve with their hearts, should get the same support as those who wish to attend a 4-year college. Those first scholarships went to public and private school students from each of the ethnically diverse neighborhoods that then defined Fall River. They went toward bachelor's degrees, community college degrees, and certifications. Most importantly, they provided hope for students facing uncertain futures. One of those early students, Doug Mello, helped Dr. Fradkin's initial fundraising efforts, collecting whatever change in single-dollar bills people could spare. Today, Doug is a retired communications executive and a member of the Scholarship America Board. Recently, he reiterated exactly what makes our mission and yours so important. Without a doubt, he said, receiving that scholarship gave me confidence that I could improve my standing. Ever since those first 24 scholarships, that has been our guiding purpose, not just providing students with funding, but giving them the confidence to pursue their dreams, telling them in no uncertain terms, we believe in you. Of course, to really make a national impact, it was clear we had to expand. In 1960, 11 local chapters in Massachusetts and Rhode Island joined together to form a new nonprofit. It was the first ever national grassroots nonprofit dedicated to community scholarship support. And over the next 60 years, it would evolve alongside the changing landscape of higher education in ways we never could have predicted or anticipated. We knew our chapters needed to and would operate independently. That is how they were established. And it was clear that local volunteers had an intimate understanding and appreciation for the most pressing issues in their communities. As a result, the national organization's primary role became one of support and amplification, rather than direction or, even worse, dictation. Our national role was to align these independent community groups under an overarching mission. Over the years, we've discovered how crucial a role branding plays in that balancing act. As we became more geographically and programmatically diverse, we began to recognize the vital need for a common brand message and brand cohesion. To truly become a national nonprofit, our Dollars for Scholars volunteers in Washington State needed to feel connected to our offices in Minnesota and our chapters in Massachusetts. As part of that effort, aligned with our national brand, we established our first website for the national organization, and we began providing standardized logos, letterhead, and brand materials to our local and regional Dollars for Scholars offices. Today, we continue to strive for brand cohesiveness and connection, even as our volunteers and partners work to address their community's unique challenges. As with all national organizations, we want our collective impact to be greater than the sum of its individual parts. As a result of this connected independence, we are always learning and sharing best practices directly from our stakeholders. That includes Dollars for Scholars chapters, scholarship partners, and colleagues from other organizations that serve students in the same space as we do. It is a two-way, open, free flow of communication that feeds back into the power of our brand. It's an ongoing evolution and improvement over time. As our brand got stronger and our geographical reach spread, it opened up the door to new opportunities for structuring scholarships and providing student supports. It's no exaggeration to say that embracing those opportunities is what has fueled our evolution into what our brand is and stands for today. A milestone in our development came in 1976 when we were approached by the Toro Lawn Care Company with a request. Toro wanted to provide scholarships to the children of its employees, but they didn't have the time or the right skills in-house to administer it. They had seen our work in communities in our home state of Minnesota and wondered if we could design and manage a program on their behalf. We had never worked directly with a corporate partner before, and our small workforce at the time came largely from nonprofit and volunteer backgrounds. But our leadership recognized that this was a unique and valuable opportunity, and they knew that the combination of our scholarship, expertise, and Toro's support could turn into an expandable model, just like Dr. Fradkin's original idea. So we said yes. And today, 45 years later, Toro remains a Scholarship America partner. And since that first corporately funded scholarship program, we now partner with over 1,400 corporations, foundations, and individuals. And since 1958, we have distributed more than $4.5 billion and served more than 2.8 million students in more than 100 countries. For us, the evolution from a single community scholarship program to the nation's largest private scholarship and student support organization has presented amazing opportunities as well as many challenges. The opportunity was clear. We could impact far more students across the country and around the world in places where we'd never have had a geographical reach. With each new partner, we'd learn more, answer new questions, and deepen our expertise. That in turn would help us do even more in communities and ensure even more students could benefit. The challenges were less obvious, but no less impactful. How could we maintain our community identity, our mission, and our focus while expanding to serve these new audiences? They recognized the personal grassroots touch that made our organization special. How would we make sure we wouldn't lose that touch as we grew? While there's no single answer to those questions, the steps that we followed are just as simple, yet profound, as Dr. Fradkin's original Dollars for Scholars plan. First, listen to students and their partners' needs. Second, be generous with sharing knowledge. And lastly, be willing to evolve along with your stakeholders. Listening is a vital step for any nonprofit, especially one like yours that is working to build and sustain a nationwide community. The students you serve have significant needs and important stories to tell. The people who mention you on social media or in the news have voices that need to be heard. And every supporter, from your newest donor to your longest serving board member, has a passion that fuels their involvement or an idea that could help others. The cycle of listening, learning, and sharing has always been a key part of Scholarship America's growth. I was fortunate enough to be part of Scholarship America's board when we received the kind of gift nonprofits dream of. Katie Couric had just finished her book called The Best Advice I Ever Got, and she wanted to donate her royalties from the book to support higher education. Through her staff, she learned of and was inspired by Dr. Fradkin's story and invited him to appear on her daytime talk show. We used Katie's gift to create a new Scholarship America scholarship program called the Dream Award. In creating the Dream Award, we went back to basics and drew upon all we had learned in then our almost 60-year history by listening, sharing, and evolving. We spoke to students and communities, and what we heard matched what we saw in our own experience and our data. Scholarships were helping students to get into college, but after the first year, the funds were drying up, leaving them stranded. So we created a new kind of award, the Scholarship America Dream Award, designed for students who have overcome adversity to reach college and successfully complete their first year, but were at financial risk of dropping out before graduation. Essentially, it is a completion scholarship that ensures a student will not drop out due to a financial barrier. In its 8th year, there are now 130 Dream Award scholars. In 2014, the first year of the Dream Award, Katie Couric invited all 12 finalists to appear on her show, along with Dr. Fradkin. Here's a short clip of what that looked like.
So, Lauren, may I have the envelope, please? Gosh. Okay. The winner of the 2014 Scholarship America Dream Award is... I'm so confused. I'm so confused because there are 12 names on this. We're all getting scholarships.
During my time as CEO, I've done my best to encourage and foster our ongoing evolution based on continuous feedback and engagement. That evolution has taken many forms, and I'm very proud of all of them because they've kept the mission alive and relevant in today's times. There is one that is very recent that I'd like to share. As you may know, Scholarship America's headquarters and major operations center is located in Minnesota. And over the last year, coming out of the events of May 2020 in Minneapolis, Scholarship America has re-emphasized our mission to support all students. The death of George Floyd hit us very close to home, and the ensuing social justice awakening in our state and across the world was a stark reminder of the inequities that plague so many of our institutions, including our educational system. In response, we have recommitted not only to our mission, but to our core values to ensure equity, inclusion, and justice in our programs, and advocating for greater equity in the wider world of private scholarships. While we all speak the words as an expression of our values, beliefs, and intent, it is action and action alone that is absolutely necessary to make those words a reality. Addressing a topic as large and far-reaching as scholarship equity and inclusion is not an easy task, nor will a single action address the inequities. However, it is a priority that needs to be focused on and acted on now. At Scholarship America, those challenges we work to address is the struggle of students to afford basic necessities. Even before COVID struck, millions of college students were already facing food and housing insecurity. Many more struggle to afford transportation, childcare, medical bills, and technology costs. Achieving a college education is hard enough, and it's almost unimaginably tough when you don't have a place to sleep, meals to eat, or time to study. On a community level, we have been at the forefront of a movement to address basic student needs by providing fast, responsive emergency grants. For 15 years, we've worked with colleges to manage and disperse grants to students facing unexpected setbacks. And we've learned that an average grant of less than $500 can often make the difference between a student staying in college or dropping out. Due to the success, we explored new ways to reach students more directly. In 2020, in partnership with another not-for-profit, we launched an expanded direct-to-student emergency grant program. In the first quarter of the year, we celebrated the initial success of awarding students with almost $10,000 in emergency grants, and then COVID struck. We didn't know exactly what to expect as schools began canceling classes, shuttering dorms, and students found themselves scrambling for Wi-Fi and workspaces. But we knew those students would need help, and so we mobilized to support a rapid expansion of the emergency grants program. We were able to deliver nearly $200,000 into the hands of students in need. In addition to our emergency grant program, and as a result of several years of legislative advocacy, including prominent testimony and support from Scholarship America, in 2019, the California legislature passed a law that significantly expanded community colleges' ability to use state funding for emergency grants. That law helped maximize student access to dollars right when they needed it the most. Your organization does amazing work for students who have experienced the kind of tragedy and loss that no young person should ever have to face. Today, I'd like to leave you with one last illustration of the power of good and the impact we can make when we join together for a worthy and noble cause. In the week following the tragic attacks on September 11, 2001, Scholarship America became part of a newly established scholarship fund called Families of Freedom. The fund was established to provide scholarships to families of those who were lost or disabled in the 9/11 attacks and rescuing efforts. To date, we have helped nearly 4,000 students, distributing nearly $180 million in scholarships, and will be continuing to do so until the fund sunsets in 2030. One of the heroes who lost his life on that tragic day, a New York City firefighter and a father of 10, was Frank Palumbo. Since the attacks, the Families of Freedom Scholarship Fund is making college a reality for all 10 of the Palumbo family. Here is a story of just one of them.
My father was always my hero from day one. Before September 11th, before everything, he was my hero. When I think of him today, I remember how hard he worked to take care of his children and how much he loved his children.
He was a hero and he saved people. That was his job. That's what he wanted to do. That's what he did.
After September 11th, it was very hard for my mom to experience the loss of her husband. She loved him so much. They had 10 kids together. They were raising the kids together, and I think it helped her to have the 10 kids, so everywhere she looked, she had a reminder of her husband, when she kind of knew, my husband's still with me, taking care of me and helping me. She really became the best mom in the world.
She was diagnosed with cancer, colon cancer, stage 4. They told her she only had 4 months to live, and she lived for 4 more years.
I knew deep down she was fighting every single day for us. All my brothers and sisters, we all felt like we lost our best friend, and all of us, we were so close with her.
The Palumbo family are truly exceptional, and it's no wonder they had exceptional parents. We have been so honored and privileged to have been able to help each and every one of them. I think we have 2 more Palumbo young adults to come through our program.
When I found out that I was going to receive a scholarship from the fund, it meant a lot to me, and I knew that I had a responsibility to capitalize on that fund, they made an investment in me and what's going to be the return. And I studied accounting, so I'm all into the finance of it. It meant something, and that it meant something to my brothers and sisters to be an example for them.
Joe is a perfect representation of who our students are. He has been successful in his career. He's now joining the board of Scholarship America. He wants to give back.
I wouldn't be where I am today without the scholarship, and I wouldn't be able to give back everything that I give back without the scholarship. This is what children today need to feel, you know? Not only kids affected by September 11th, kids all over the world, that, you know, the more that you give and the more that you love, the more that they return that love to other people in need.
Today, Joe is a college graduate, working in finance and raising a family of his own. In addition to that, he is in his second term and serves as the Secretary of the Scholarship America Board of Trustees. In closing, I'd like to reemphasize the importance of listening, sharing, and evolving as you grow. They are the keys to expanding your reach and impact without losing sight of your mission. And to me, that is the secret to building a national organization that keeps people engaged, allows them to give back, and feel like a true community. Thank you again for the opportunity to spend time with you here today. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Bob. It's great to have you here today. I don't know whether we're going to come together or not in this screen, but I've got a million questions. So as everybody else is trying to put your questions together in the chat box, I'd love to spend some time. I could certainly go back and forth with you for a while, as we've talked about before. You talked about a lot of things that I think are meaningful to Kids Chance of America, to Kids Chance organizations throughout the country: collective impact, brand cohesion, best practices. We talk about best practices all the time. I'm going to kick off questions today with something I think we wrestle with a lot, and it sounds like you do as well. How do you strengthen and encourage the uniqueness and the independence among your community groups while, like our state organizations, while you're expanding a national and even in your case, I guess, an international presence and brand?
Well, first, let me start by saying, Vicki, thank you for the invitation. Cheryl, I think, was our first contact and drew us into a discussion. And I could tell from the outset that there was so much in common, that sharing our stories is really the right thing to do, and something that we absolutely love doing. Because ultimately what it means is that more students get served, and that's what we're all about. It's what you're all about. One of the comments that I made, or the phrases that I used in the keynote, was the term connected independence. It almost sounds like an oxymoron. Is that how can you be connected and independent at the same time? But it is truly the balance between those two that I think makes the difference. And think of it as what is the best area for a national organization to provide support to each one of the states? What are the things that they're, because of the size or the leverage or just the scope and scale of what they're capable of doing, makes it something the national can provide and each individual state does not have to replicate or duplicate across their base. Mm-hmm. So as you think about that, it really goes to the brand. Clearly, the mission is the glue. The mission is the unifying force that keeps all of us on track and keeps everything connected. However, it's the national brand that represents the look, the feel, the phrases that are used, and the ways in which we go about and describe our mission. And one of the things that I found is that every single one of you, and this was the case for me, I served at the grassroots level. I was in Indiana. We had 105 or so chapters of Dollars for Scholars. And I learned the business from the grassroots, literally from the ground up. I later joined the board of Scholarship America and served there for 4 years. And I was about to become the chair of that board, and I was asked to become the CEO. Another one of life's forks in the road that you don't anticipate. But I made a list and saw no reasons. I had more reasons to take the position and to do what I've done for the last 5 years. And the fact of the matter is that the organization looks very different from each of those vantage points. The one thing that ties it all together, the one thing that I could find in every single stop along that path, was the mission. And the way in which we talk about the mission, the way in which we advocate that mission to others needs to be consistent. Because what happens in Massachusetts, or the Northwest, or in Maryland, pick a state or any combination of states, it's all based on the same foundation, and that is the mission that we serve day in and day out. So as we think about that, the question then becomes, at a state level, what's unique to that and what capabilities does the state have? And the fact of the matter is that no two states are exactly the same. There are some similarities, but eventually ideas that are brought up in one state may become available or viable, I should say, in another state. And one of the things that can be done, and you may have this in place already, but we have something called Dollars for Scholars Connects. And once a month, we will go through and basically bring together, much as you've done so today, for a finite period of time, a sharing session, just to talk about wins, talk about victories, talk about challenges. And it's networking at the core, and ideas and experiences and lessons learned comes from every one of those conversations. So as you think about the uniqueness, each community, and I mentioned this in my keynote, each community has the ability, as well as the knowledge and the line of sight, to be able to know what's going to work best in your region, in your community, in your state. And it's that learning that can be leveraged by others if it applies.
Yep.
And that's where the dictation and the direction really comes in. It's neither. What we need to do is operate within a frame that is consistent for the sake of the power that it brings, and that is the national brand and the cohesiveness of that brand.
And collectively, we can work well and advance that mission throughout the country, which is what we always say.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if there's any questions coming in yet, but let me throw out another one. Just like you, our Kids Chance partners have also played a pivotal role in the growth and expansion of Kids Chance. I know many of them are here today. How have you fostered strong relationships and engagement with those valued supporters?
It's I use the word evolve in some of my comments, and it really has been an evolution. And each new partner that comes on, each new supporter, and our supporters run the whole range of major corporations to regional foundations or national foundations, as well as down to individuals who either while they're alive or after their passing leave some form of a gift that they want to go toward a particular student or a student group, whatever the case may be. It's entirely up to them, and we don't direct that. We just support that to the best of our ability. And effectively what has happened is what may have been considered in the past, I would say more of a transactional or at least a exchange type of relationship, has evolved into very deliberately and intentionally into a trusted partner relationship. And what that means is that, I talked about this in my keynote a little bit, is that it all comes down to their why. Why are they talking to you? What are they interested in accomplishing, your supporters? And what is the mission of the organization? And what is the alignment between those two? And if there is alignment, then there's opportunity for dialogue, and from dialogue comes solutions. So the conversation is not about the services or things that you can do for that entity. It's about what are the problems they're trying to solve, what goals are they seeking to achieve, what impact do they want to make, and how can we work together to put together a solution that achieves each and every one of those objectives. So it becomes a collaborative discussion. It becomes a trusted partner as opposed to a service provider or even a facilitator or an administrator. A partner is something a whole lot different. And for all the lawyers on the line, it's a small p, not a large p. So it's not a legal relationship. It is indeed a mutual benefit type of relationship between two parties. So that's
Thanks,
how we
Bob.
approach it.
I saw a question come in. Did someone catch that one?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions that have come.
Okay, good.
So the first question is, do they have more than one individual or local organization in each state? And how do they monitor the individual and local organizations to make sure that they follow the goals of the national organization?
So the answer, the short answer to a portion of your question is that we do have more than one individual or local organization in each state. And in some cases, I mentioned maybe a little bit of dated data, if you will. But in Indiana, at one time, there were 105 chapters, local community chapters or community organizations. It doesn't have to be a community per se. It could be the Kiwanis. It could be the Knights of Columbus. It could be any organization that wanted to come together for the purpose of raising dollars for scholarships to give to students from their community. So what we essentially did is we grew organically, starting in Fall River, Massachusetts. And much like the westward movement, go west, young person, if you will, we moved from east to west. And we leapfrogged in a couple places. We ended up in Minnesota before we filled in Ohio. And all of it was organic, and it was based on the power of the idea of a community scholarship and what it could achieve. So it's not as if there's a limitation. If there's a community anywhere in this United States, continental or the extended states, we do provide the support to set up the organization. The way in which they're tied together is a portion of our team has responsibility for that network. Right now, there's roughly 480 or so chapters in about 31 states, I think, plus the District of Columbia. And what they do is they stay in contact. We have regional engagement directors who break up the United States into 4 different parts, and the chapters within those states or those regions, their charge. They interact with them on a regular basis. Every one of our organizations is an extension of our 501c3. So they're not independent 501c3s, as I believe you are. Yeah. However, they still operate under that same guideline of not-for-profit. Our extension of our nonprofit status allows them to collect their funds on a tax-free basis to the giver. Right. So that's part of what we do. We also provide to each and every one of our chapters the technology that is desktop-based that allows them to design their scholarship program, raise the fundraising dollars, make a selection once the applications are created and returned, and evaluate those applications and select their recipients. That's sort of a common bond. And because of the 501c3 nature, we need to every year report in a 990 that is a collective of 480 different extensions of our 501c3, all the details associated with that. So there are annual reports that they provide to us, as well as support that we do through training, webinars, the Connect entity that I talked about, the monthly review and connection through networking. So that's how it happens primarily. And over time, because people tend to stay with organizations that they believe in and have a passion for the mission, there are a lot of folks who go way back. And when I say way back, I mean back to the 60s, literally. There are people that are still involved in some way, shape, or form in chapters that they became part of back in the 60s. So it's quite a legacy that they've created.
You certainly have. You certainly have. Linda, what else do we have?
Yeah, we have another question. You spoke about grassroots and volunteer resources. Can you speak to the value of investing in infrastructure and paid staff, like an executive director, to further the cause at a state level?
Sure. And we have about 12,000 volunteers that staff, if you will, or keep those 480 some chapters running on a national basis. So that's the core group, if you will, of volunteers. And it ebbs and flows, as you would expect, as new people join and other people step away. The value, I think, of the infrastructure that we've created, as well as the paid staff that we have that support that infrastructure, is back to that, what are the tasks, what are the capabilities that are best consolidated and created and perfected for the benefit of all 50 states at the national level. And for us, it's technology, it's technical training, it's fundraising training, it's the things that are the core critical elements of any one of our chapters, whether it's been there since 1960 or whether it started last year. They are doing the same things in different ways. And it's a two-way street in that it's not as if we have the answers and we're delivering them. We learn from every interaction we have, and we change or we modify or we adjust what it is we support. And that's based on the feedback. And that's the listen, learn part of what I was talking about before. And the sharing is by letting other chapters know what we've learned from a particular chapter and making that part of our core offering from that point on. And if you think of the pace of change, there's many things that have been said about change. The frequency of it is increasing and the magnitude of it is increasing. And the only way to meet that, or at least try to stay up with it, is to have the conversations, to learn from others and to share that information. And in so doing, evolve. And that's really the underlying premise of what I covered in my keynote.
The pandemic took us all by surprise. I'm sure it did for you as well. As a national scholarship provider, what have you learned through the experience?
Well, it's one thing that as I thought about sort of the aftermath, and we're not through it yet, clearly, the impacts continue, but the major impacts have clearly been felt for the last year. We have a staff of about 230 employees. I would say 180 to 190 of them worked in one location. We have an operations center just south of the Twin Cities, and that has been our operations center since the 80s, and it's been expanded and improved and so on and so forth. However, what we started to catch wind of, as we all did, entering March of 2020, was that this is real, it's going to take its toll. What should we start doing now? So early to the middle part of March, we started to assemble laptops. And when I say assemble, I really mean accumulate.
Yeah.
Our staff, 190 or so of them, about 100 of them worked in some type of a desktop environment, not a laptop, not mobile by any stretch. The others had that because of the nature of their work. And what we ended up doing from about the 15th of March to the 28th of March is we found, configured, and deployed 100 laptops to that staff and sent them home with instructions on how to log in and start to work through how to do their jobs.
Yeah.
So the impact for us as a scholarship provider is the way in which we had done business for a long time, decades literally, changed in a matter of 2 weeks. And the good news, the successful news, I'm not saying not for us, clearly for us and for our employees, but more importantly for the students we serve, is that we've been able to continue to deliver the scholarships that they need when they need it. And I also alluded to the other things that we have ramped up, which is emergency grants, the basic necessities. And the example that I gave in my keynote is one of several where literally hundreds of thousands of dollars have gone out in emergency grants. The other thing that I would want to say is that the disruption that has been caused by the pandemic does not eliminate the needs that exist. In fact, what they do is they make them change or morph. So for a student who would need tuition in order to go to school and continue, you've just added to that the basic necessities of life. For students who have decided for the past year to drop out for a year or stop for a year and then return, it's not as easy as just picking up where you left off, and there's challenges there. So we're finding that that's another big piece of it. Let me tell you one last thing. Every year, every quarter, we have something called an organization risk assessment. And part of that process is to basically identify what we believe the major risks are on really two scales. One, the likelihood of that risk, and the impact of that risk if it were to occur. So if you think of the XY axis, the worst possible place to be in that XY axis is the upper right-hand corner. I guess for you would be that right-hand corner. But the point is, in the end of the quarter, last quarter of 2019, pandemic did not show up on our org risk assessment. At the end of the first quarter, It was in the furthest most upper right hand part of the diagram that I just described to you.
Yeah.
It's not going to come off. The fact that it is real, it is going to continue to visit us. It is a risk that we have all adapted to and will continue to adapt to. So don't want to be surprised by that again. Hope there's not something else waiting in the wings to take its place. But doing the risk assessment, I think, is the right thing to do to prepare in advance of what you might have to do, and hope you don't have to.
Bob, on behalf of Kids Chance, I just want to thank you for joining us today and you know, opening the 2021 National Conference with such inspiring and motivational remarks. How about everybody, we give him or Bob a round of applause. I think it was do your hands, do your things. It was great to have you. It was great to have you. Thank you so much.